They scared everybody and people left. But two, people changed their behaviors. They did something differently. And they said, you know what, I'm not going to go out 10 times to do what I'm going to go on that one trip. If I'm lucky enough to be near a subway, I might even take it this time. And when gas prices go up, we need to create a system that is a seamless, connected transportation system. It won't be for everybody, but it shouldn't be that I say, oh, we really need a transportation system, but I want Michael to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to participate. We need to invest in infrastructure for the future and say we're part of the solution in that. And that means also dealing with a regional approach. It means having a relationship, if you're the mayor of Los Angeles, with the mayor of Beverly Hills and the mayor of West Hollywood and the mayor of Santa Monica. Because if you only deal in your own little sandbox, it's not going to help anything, and we need to invest in the future. But we also, as I mentioned, need to have, it's not only transportation and business, it's also about education, which is a tough issue to talk about. I am, thank God, I have an 8-year-old that I had at the age of 42. Now you know how old I am. But I have a wonderful 8-year-old who's in 3rd grade. And everyone asked me, as a politician, they feel like they can ask you anything. And they said, when I was pregnant, are you going to send your kid to public school? Do you feel obligated? And I said, no, I'm lucky to have him, but I would like to send my kid to public school. I want that option. And it shouldn't matter where you live in the city of Los Angeles, of getting a good education. And so we chose to go to our local public school. But this public school, before I got there, not that I made the difference, but before I got there, it was a 650 API. For those of you that know that, that's not very good. It was a Title I school where 40% of the kids were eligible for free lunch. We are now at a 910. It's a huge difference. You know what happened? The teacher, the principal, and the parents took that school back and said, we're going to invest. We're going to invest in them. And that principal was one who said, I'm going to hold all of them accountable. We need to grassroots and look at everything on the table about how we improve our educational system, because businesses will not locate here if we do not have students, young people who are graduating who can read and write and actually be a good salesperson like a place like this. We have to invest in our education. But it is important when we look at the future of Los Angeles that you have someone who's going to roll up their sleeves and do the big things and the little things, because it matters. Because that gentleman who told me if you only paved Wilshire Boulevard was not the first. He was probably the 100th person who had said that to me when I talked to him. And so I decided to run for mayor and be able to make a difference by rolling up my sleeves, using my inside knowledge and outside perspective to change Los Angeles. It is too great for us not to do that. Because my grandfather actually worked in Beverly Hills and then moved his business to the Valley and called it Frontier because the San Fernando Valley was a new frontier. It was a place you could believe in. I want to still have that. I want my son to be able to have the same opportunities I did. He says today that he's going to live next door to me for the rest of his life. Okay, he's only 8, so I'm hoping that it stays for a while. Teenager, he might say something different. But I want the city to be a place where he can live and go to school and get a job and be able to not spend all of his time in traffic. And so I've chosen this path to be able to be the next mayor of Los Angeles because I know that I can make a difference and that I'm going to be one of those people who's tough. Michael may recall when I ran for city controller, people asked me the question, will you be tough enough? And I said, have you met me before? But okay, yeah, I'll be tough. And I like to use this phrase of Governor Jennifer Granholm from Michigan. She said, do not confuse civility with weakness. You can be civil and work together and be strong and not be weak. And what we need in the city is someone who is going to take that perspective of be tough and make sure that we get the job done. And so the election, and I'm talking quickly, Michael, so I don't go too long. The election is a year from now. In some ways it seems a lifetime away, but it will be like this. And I'm very excited about my chances and my opportunity to deal with the important issues that we have. I'm the only candidate who has run citywide. I got 65% of the vote when I ran for city controller. I'm the only candidate who is the city controller who, if you read the newspapers, is holding our departments and our elected officials accountable for doing things more efficiently, whether it be for commodities, whether it be next week on fuel usage, whether it be auditing our fire department to see how they are in the response times, if you followed the news recently, to looking at how we spend our money on cell phones to renewable energy. It is really looking at the depths of how we do things better in Los Angeles. In addition, the San Fernando Valley, for better or worse, is 40% of the electorate. And for better or worse, I am a Valley girl, and I I got good numbers when I ran for city controller, but I also did well in South LA, got over 73%, and in East LA, almost 70% as well. To win the mayor's race, you need to be able to have a message that resonates with the entire city and understand that bringing the city together, there's nothing more important than that. No matter where you live, even if you live in Beverly Hills, you care what happens in Los Angeles because you know, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. You drive down sometimes Wilshire Boulevard and the streets and you know when you've hit Beverly Hills. In the valleys, you know when you've hit Burbank and even West Hollywood. That's not right. It should be seamless and you should say this is a region that we can all support and that we want to create jobs for everyone. Not just stealing them from other cities, but actually pulling up and making sure we have those jobs. And so I'm excited about this opportunity, and when Michael said he had some good friends that he had, I don't know, twisted their arms, offered them something to be here tonight, I jumped at the chance to be able to introduce myself to you and hope that you will consider, as I'm going forward, to support me and talk about me and about the future of Los Angeles being in good hands of someone who knows how to drive a forklift, actually do the books, and get the job done because it's an important part for here in Los Angeles and the city that we love. So thank you very, very much.
Okay, so Wendy's got to go pretty soon, but the magic, I think, of this not only is the opportunity to visit with her privately, which some of you have done, but to ask a question or two of Wendy. So who would like to begin? Okay.
I'll ask a question.
Okay.
Being in Beverly Hills, talking about transportation and education, I don't know how many people read the Beverly Hills Courier today. It was the article regarding the subway and Beverly Hills High School and how it's going to affect the high school potentially, and the EIR report. What is your feeling about that?
I haven't seen the story today and where I know that they had two options that they were looking at and to determine what was the best location.
Wants it under the high school.
The MTA wants it under the high school, yes. Yes. So the MTA is 4 members, the mayor and 3 of his appointees, and then county, yes, and then the county board of supervisors in other cities. And so I know that they're looking at the EIR as far as what the options are for them. I haven't taken a position, in all honesty, on that particular issue, because I said I really want to be able to study what the pros and cons are of both of those. But I know particularly those that have students in Beverly Hills do not want it to go under Beverly Hills High School and would like it to be at one location, and Century City people would like it at another location. So I will make sure the next time I see you that I can give you my particular perspective on that. But I think I'd like to see where it's going. Is EIR going before the MTA soon?
I believe the EIR has been before the MTA. The MTA, it sounds like, has disregarded a lot of what the EIR has said. It sounded like the EIR went before the MTA sooner than it should have.
And are they commenting?
Are in, yes.
All right, well, I will watch that very closely because I do know it's important to this community as well.
Absolutely.
Dr. Bob?
Thanks for coming and spending time, and thanks for running. It seems to me that some of the problems that you mentioned cannot be cured by the city of Los Angeles. They're statewide problems, correct? This state is not favorable to businesses. It's lawsuit heaven. It's all the negatives that can exist to encourage the companies that located in Las Vegas tell the story. So the question is, how can you translate some energy and influence Sacramento, because in fact our prosperity is somewhat limited by the behavior of the legislature and the governor. Is that not correct?
Yes, yes, it is.
So what do you do? Because that will, I mean, you have limits to what your power is in the city.
challenge, yes. So, I mean, it's interesting. I've sat with Fox executives, I've sat with other business executives who say every month or every week they get a call from a governor or a mayor from another state or city trying to get them to go somewhere else and say, here are all of the opportunities. Utah, I think it's Utah and Texas have an office that they have opened in Los Angeles to poach our businesses. So, to your question, it is about using the power, not only of the bully pulpit, but to bring people together. Rarely do you see the mayors of Long Beach, Santa Monica, LA, the county board of supers coming together and saying, we need change on the state level. Everyone's just trying to get their own little piece. we need to take the leadership role and say, here are the things, workers' comp issues, which continue to, again, I know as a business owner, even in the city of Los Angeles, as a person who pays some of those bills, our workers' comp this last year just went skyrocketed, and trying to look at exactly where the problems are. There's a lot of discussion, even with environmentalists and business owners about CEQA. What are there things that exist that we should change that will allow us to be still environmentally friendly, but not business unfriendly, and being able to do that. So I think we have a unique opportunity in this tough economic times. People are willing to do things they otherwise wouldn't, and are willing to stand up to say, to help create this job, we need to do this. And I think the powers of the mayor are more limited than I would like them to be, but they are greater in the bully pulpit that you have, and to bring people together. And I think when a new mayor comes in, when I come in, it's going to be a way in which I said, we're going to go up to Sacramento and be able to make a difference, and sit down and not just come always hand out for money, but talk about structure, because some of it is just structure. And the other is, and the message of education. We used to be 5th in the country on per pupil spending. Anyone want to gather what we are now? 48th. Yeah. 48th. And we wonder where the problem is. So,
34th in the nation.
5th versus 48th. Yes.
Hi, my name is Rex Reginald. I'm a writer-producer. I'm doing a movie on Audie Murphy, our most decorated soldier and star of 50 films. I will campaign for you tirelessly if you pay attention to something that's very close to my heart, which is slaughtering all these animals in animal shelters because landlords are not pet-friendly. I started in San Francisco, pet-friendly landlords for responsible pet owners. We can open up apartments to cats and dogs, and we can, really reduce the number of animals being whacked out.
Yeah.
What is your position on animal rights and the slaughter of all these animals?
Well, I'm a big animal rights activist. We were just chatting, yes, about, and a couple over here, about animals and making sure that our city shelters particularly do not euthanize as many animals as they have been doing. I just did an audit a month or two ago I released, which said we were not doing a very good job. We didn't know yesterday how many animals we had versus today how many animals we had. And that there was lax processes of being able to, and marketing, and how we get people to adopt our animals. So,
and most people are renters. They can't afford to buy a house, especially with this mortgage crisis. So you've got to open up apartment buildings to animals, to responsible pet owners.
Well, it'd be great to get with our housing department and our animal services and say, how do we encourage people to be able to have animals there and have the ability to allow them to adopt those animals?
I spoke to City Councilman Tom LaBonge. Who should I contact next? Just one last question. Who should I contact next?
Paul Koretz is the new chair of the Personnel and Animal Welfare Committee, PAWS Committee, they called it. Okay. So I would talk to Paul because his committee is the one really going to be addressing some of the issues in our animal shelters and others.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, one last question over here, and then we...
We'll take 2.
Okay, 2 more, okay.
Hi, I'm from Texas and I live in LA now and I love it, but we're a right-to-work state, and we have a very attractive entertainment deal to people who come to, particularly, I'm from Houston. So I'm just wondering, even if we're a union state, so everything's a lot more expensive by default. How would it? Everything's already based here, but what would you?
What would the tax rate be to bring
right?
Thank you.
Yes. So it's everything to bring entertainment back to Los Angeles.
Right.
Yes. Couple of things. One is the tax incentives that we've been able to provide on the state that has given to smaller films, $75 million or less films. You can see the direct correlation with the number of films that have stayed here based on that some of them had tax incentives, because these other states are offering a lot. My husband has done some producing this summer, did his first TV movie, and I was so excited, but it was in Toronto, okay? So 6 weeks he's gone. I said, and I have to take care of the kid for the whole time, okay, by myself. But it was it splits the families, but they're offering a 35% tax increase. We can't get the state legislature, it goes back to this gentleman's point over here, the state legislature, to give more than a 1-year extension for this. People are planning, just like in any kind of business, and the entertainment is no different, they're planning a year or 2 years from now about what they're going to be able to do. And if we can't guarantee it, it's not going to happen. And so I was chatting with people this morning about how we get the state legislature, and we could use your help in getting the state legislature to understand that the entertainment industry is not just Tom Cruise in front of the camera getting that tax incentive. It's all the other people who are going to be able to keep those jobs. It also means ensuring that we make it easier for people to film. And I was driving down here, I was a few minutes late because I was coming down one of the roads here and they blocked the street for filming, you know? And I said, thank God, I know I'm going to be late, but thank God they're filming here in Los Angeles.
Yep.
That we have to say it's important, and they Film LA, which is an organization that is here, you know, really tries to educate the public about these jobs are your neighbors and your community's jobs. I pushed a lot in the city to not have fees associated with some of the buildings that we have, to making sure that we don't have exorbitant costs for police or fire that we have to use in those particular areas. But it's not, we will never be able to compete with the Texas in the kind of incentives that they provide. But we can get close. We can get close. And if you want, as I talked to my friends at DreamWorks when I was there, I said, why did you pick this state or this city compared to Los Angeles? And I said, because, number one, it was cheaper, but number two, they met us at the airport and they said, we want to help you,
They were nice.
and we're going to help you get to the location, and this is what we're going to do. And if you have a problem,
They were nice.
pick up the phone and do that. Because people would, again, most people like living in LA if they're in the entertainment, and they would rather not go. So if we even get close. But it means the mayor of the city, and I talked to executives at all of the different places, said, we never hear from the city of LA, except for when they say you didn't do something right, or they put barriers in front of us ability to do that. We are an entertainment town. New York would never let Wall Street leave. Sometimes they would like to recently, but LA should never let Hollywood leave, and we have to fight for it. And that means every single day saying, what do we do? What are the barriers to it? And going to the state of California and saying, look, these are some of the incentives that we need.
Okay.
So I'm
This
very
nice
passionate.
gentleman, and last question.
Yeah, we started a charter school down in MacArthur Park about 10 years ago, Camino Nuevo Charter
Yes.
Academy. And this is a model that was good enough to have the LAUSD let us take over a new school that LAUSD built. Where do you stand on breaking up LAUSD and letting charters take the bulk of the new schools? Because obviously LAUSD is dysfunctional.
So I think he has a very clear opinion on this. And so mine is, and I may have said this earlier, which is we have to look at everything in the whole gamut when we deal with the school district. We can't say we'll just deal with it, you know, school by school in some ways. That a generation we will lose. So we have to run the gamut from talking about breakup to how we do it school to school. And I think that there are many options. I mean, again, some charter schools are great, and this one I know is a very good school in that area. That there's a balance. I wouldn't say we'd have all, I mean, the only thing I would say is we wouldn't have the bulk necessarily, but I'd say everyone needs to compete, because guess what? Competition is good. Competition is good about how you're going to do better. And I have to say, it's schools that really want to serve those kids, they're willing to accept that kind of competition. And to be able to do that. We just have to make sure that every kid in LA gets the same ability and access to do that and guarantee that. And so, but I do think charter schools have been a great part of it. I've worked very closely with many of the schools, Green Dot, and I'm trying to remember all of the others that have gone forward. So charter schools are here to stay and are part of the mix of what we need to do to be able to address education in Los Angeles. And there'll never be another, I mean, there will always be in a discussion of who's mayor, the issue of education. And we'll never go back to saying it's not our job, because that is a cop-out. And when I worked for Tom Bradley in 1988, we established a program called LA's Best, a nationally recognized now after-school program. But when we went to meet with the school district, they said to us, when we said, we'll fund 10 schools, just give us your property, let us use your property after school. And the answer to us was no. And thank God Tom Bradley said no is not the right answer. We're going to do this. It's our schools. It's our property. And now we have those 188 schools. So it means sometimes challenging the system, and it means not always making everyone happy, but fighting for who's the most important person? Those children, because they're the future of Los Angeles.
Great. Anyway, will you join me? Thank you.
I'm here for a few more minutes. So.
So you're going to hang around for a couple minutes, I think,
Yes.
if they'll let her.
Yeah.
Say, come up and say hello, hang around.
Thank you.
John, where are you, Brother John? Okay, John Carroll will put the music back on for us. Come up and say hi.